And we are live. Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Douglas, and this is Deploy Friday. It's brought to you by PlatformSh, and it's the webcast for the curious to learn about the hottest new internet technologies and the people behind them. And for those of you who are brave, to deploy on Friday, because that's what it's all about. Screw the weekend, it won't go wrong, especially if you use a great platform as a service like PlatformSh. Deploy on Fridays with confidence. Great. We're going to talk about Open Social today and the people who are behind Open Social. I'll leave it to our guests to explain exactly what Open Social is. To the guests, we've got Taco Potze, a longtime friend of mine. Hi, Taco.
Hi.
Bram and Hove, who is
Hey,
Taco's co-collaborator in creating Open Social and the team behind it. And from the PlatformSh team, I've got Tina Sorensen. Hi, Tina.
Hey,
So I'm going to kick it right over to you, Taco, right away and ask you to briefly introduce yourself, the Open Social project, and tell the audience what is it?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us today. Yeah, I'm the CEO and founder of Open Social. We used to be a Drupal shop, so we've been active, I think, 13, 14 years in the Drupal community, doing all kinds of very cool projects until we stumbled upon this amazing use case for Drupal building social communities, which we did for Greenpeace first in the Netherlands, then rolled it out for Greenpeace International. And by the time Drupal 8 was coming around, we thought it was great to productize this idea of building communities. So the idea was born to build a distribution for Drupal 8, with which you can quickly deploy your community platforms, which can be, social intranets or volunteer platforms or anything basically, and build a SaaS platform around that, where we quickly host, maintain, and deploy your installations. And we've been on that journey since 2016, going quite well. And we'll be happy to share more about the project today with you all.
Thanks. And Bram, go ahead and introduce yourself, your role, and maybe you can take us back to the beginning about how you kicked Open Social off the first time you needed some money.
good questions. Good questions already. Robert, thanks for having us indeed, like Taco said. I'm Bram Tenova, I'm CTO at Open Social. I've been working at our company for around 9 years now. And that's also almost the time I've been involved in the Drupal community. So I've created my share of modules in the community, did my share of bug fixes and improvements. And so with Open Social, we had a project for Greenpeace Greenwire, and we used our used that project to kickstart Open Social basically. So we did our crowdfunding campaign, we raised some money. We had, I'm not sure how many contributors did we have, Taco?
We had about 160 people that invested in Open Social, or Gold Gorilla at the time.
Gogor at the time, indeed. So 160 individual contributors that believed in us and Open Social, and we started building that about now, I would say 4.5 years ago now.
Okay, so I've understood that you created a Drupal distribution that enables social networks. You can find it on Drupal.org, right? So people can go and install it on their own, or they can use the link there and install it on PlatformSh, which is also great. And that you've had some success with it. I mean, you changed the company from Gold Gorilla to Open Social. That already belies a certain amount of readjustment of the focus, right? A refocusing of your mission.
Yeah.
So what's your big news? What happened just recently?
Yeah, exactly. So we are taking Open Social to the next level. We found some amazing VCs that invested 1.25 million euros in Open Social as a company. And that's great news, especially we all know this is a tough year for everybody. But we've seen actually, our business picking up during this COVID-19 period. And that gave the investors the trust that we're really onto something. They see the open source community being active. They see we're very interesting clients using Open Social, taking it to the next level. Yeah, we're very happy to announce that we have lots of open positions also for developers. So if you're tired of switching from project and client every day, come join our product team, work on something amazing. And yeah, we'll really be scaling up the company in this and next year, and trying to really fulfill our mission in becoming one of the great open source community building platforms out there that can compete on a global and enterprise level as well.
Well, so it sounds like you've been saying that a lot recently.
You know, when you get VCs behind, it's never the first VC. So we've been pitching
Yeah.
quite a lot, but we're very lucky with these VCs. They're very hands-on. They're just amazing, and all the skills that we have when it comes to tech and in the Drupal community, we also need sometimes other skills, as for example doing sales and marketing better and productizing. So they've been really helping us in those areas as well. And we love to share all that knowledge. We're a big part of the Drupal community. We believe in productization, as you do, Rob. You've always been of a great influence there. We always like Dries' approach, his open SaaS approach there, and we will be sharing our knowledge in this journey as we have been since the start.
Great. So would one of you please do me the favor of really getting into the details of what the distribution offers, okay? Above and beyond a Drupal installation. So what's the feature set that you get?
So yeah, I'll take this one, Taco. On top of like the default Drupal installation, you get like a whole community software. So that includes maintaining your profile, your user profile, creating events, creating topics around these events, creating like posts in a stream, just like a Facebook stream like. But you also get the opportunity to create landing pages, customize your community to really your specific use cases using Open Social. So it's really centered around community tools, and giving also site managers the ability to keeping like a healthy community.
Okay,
so yeah, there's a lot of stuff really going.
Videos, I've got profiles,
videos, images, yeah, definitely,
friends,
yeah. So
private workspaces.
Yeah, so we have so we're using the group module, which is actually a really cool module in the Drupal community, which we've been using since the start of Open Social, but it was also still in alpha release, I believe. And the group module is core also of Open Social, where we have like your bigger community. But inside your community, you also usually have like these subgroups of people. You might have a city, a big platform in Germany, for example, and inside this community, this German community, you'd have subgroups in specific cities. And we use the group module to facilitate that and really keep this community active.
Cool. Well, I want to hand it over to Tina for a second, because Tina's got a long Drupal pedigree. Tina, go ahead and introduce yourself, maybe. And I know you've got some questions.
Thanks, Rob. So yeah, my name is Tina Sorensen, and I work at Platform.sh with Robert, and I think I've been doing Drupal since 2008, if I remember correctly, both as a developer and consultant and whatnot. So yeah, it's a really interesting project you guys have going here, I think. So could you tell us a bit about what the vision is for Open Social with the funding and you just got? What is your roadmap? What is the next big goals, plans you have for the project?
Yeah, so our vision is that what you see is that social and personalized and decentralized experience becomes, even before COVID, it was already important for organizations that are becoming flatter and more decentralized. We've all noticed this in our professional lives, but also in your volunteer lives or in the causes that you want to support. Everybody from all over the world should be able to contribute, share ideas and knowledge, and connect to each other. But this has been going way faster due to COVID-19, where, as you can see, we're all sitting at home right now. But the big tech companies, Microsoft, Salesforce, they'll try to suck you into their ecosystem, right? So they have great community tools that work great with all their other products. while we, especially from an open source community, but also as people that want to choose their own software, their own CRM systems, their own what have you not, we want to make sure that OpenSocial can integrate with those tools as well. So really make sure you can use the best breed software that your company uses in an ever more complicating IT landscape. And that OpenSocial is what we call a trusted hub within there that can connect multiple resources and make sure that the right content is delivered to you on the at the right moment. And what Bram was mentioning before about the features, there's a lot of things that tie together in OpenSocial. So if you create an event, it needs to be attending in your stream, and all the experiences, and that's also why building social software is one of the hardest pieces of software to build. Everything is personalized. All the experience are personalized. Whether an e-commerce, for example, you're going through the same e-commerce process over and over again, but logging in, every experience for every user in our platform is different. So we have this vision of being an open hub, a trusted hub, and that's also why our vision now is on decoupling OpenSocial. Bram can tell you a little bit more from the technical side, and we'll be publishing also, I think, next week a blog on our specific technological choices, and we've been speaking also on the Drupal Decouple days, for example, about that. So because we see a landscape where whether data from OpenSocial is being pushed to a native app or to other systems that the organizations use, or whether information is added to the system, this needs to be super flexible. And so this vision of a trusted hub, but decoupled to work as a microservice as well. That's really our vision for OpenSocial. And we've just been adding a lot of what we call extensions to that as well. So we try to make OpenSocial not just the basis, but also have, for example, a great e-learning experience and a great ideation experience, or work with a Office 365 integration. So just a rich platform with lots of features out of the box, but that also works with your other systems in your organization.
Sounds like external integrations is something that you set up quite frequently.
Yes,
we do. Yes.
So I looked a bit at the use cases for your product, and it's quite wide, from like employee platforms to social platforms. Do you ever have customers where you get surprised at what they want to use your product for, or what they are using it for?
I would say yes. At least I'm sometimes surprised. I'm not sure if Taco's surprised with all the sales leads he gets in, but
I'm still surprised.
Fair enough. But yeah, I see sometimes. Well, maybe the last thing I was a little bit surprised about is that we had a community lead, or a lead at one of the community with more like job postings in it. And this is not, if I look at a job posting website, this is not something that I would immediately center like around the community, but it makes a lot of sense, and I think we can do a lot with OpenSocial, and it's also based on Drupal, which is really flexible platform, right? So it's really that we can leverage the power of Drupal in OpenSocial to accommodate these use cases. So I think that's also why OpenSocial is such a nice piece of software to accommodate to all these use cases.
Great. So, sorry, Tina, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I really want to get into some of the questions around making a business out of this, because having a Drupal distribution is not anything new. And we, as PlatformSh, are actually directly privy to one of the pieces of how you've taken this to market. So I'm just going to say what I know about it, and you can fill in any gaps that I leave. But if you go to the OpenSocial website and sign up for a instance of OpenSocial and give your credit card and go through the whole sign-up process, as far as I know, that makes an API call to PlatformSh, which provisions a brand new instance of OpenSocial, which then the details for that come back to your system, which you present to the customer, and they can go log into their website. But then you have access to the PlatformSh backend, which is an interesting case, because as I presented it to you, Taco and Bram, when we talked about this before we started, that gives you the power to actually customize anybody's individual open social site if they need it. So the main idea behind this is, of course, a SaaS experience, a software as a service experience. But if you only wanted a software as a service experience, one, you wouldn't really need Drupal, right? You would basically build something that does exactly what you want, and that would be all it does. It would never, ever need any customization, and Drupal would probably get in your way as much as it gives you advantages. And furthermore, if you didn't want to customize your sites, then you wouldn't have chosen a platform as a service as a hosting provider. You would have probably used Kubernetes Cloud or something like that that is lower cost, but doesn't have the capabilities of branching and cloning for development branches, or building your code for you in an organized way from an upstream, from the open social upstream, or pulling in other open source packages in the build process. So that's all a way of saying, how much do you actually customize your customers' sites? What are the cases for that, and how much of that is part of your business plan?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here. But if you look at the client's demand, where you should always look at first what they want and they need. So on one hand, they want low cost, they want low risk, and they want to have their platforms yesterday. Which sounds logical, but okay, that's quite tough. And on the other hand, they want to have the flexibility to adjust the platform to their processes and use cases and their organization, because all the organizations are unique. And what SaaS does or has been doing in the past is says, okay, we have one tool, one size must fit all. If you like it, you take it. If you don't like it, you don't take it. And because open social is such a mission critical system often, that needs to be able to model the user journey and the user flow and the specific needs. So a lot of clients, they don't like their SaaS products that they have because it doesn't fulfill their use cases. It doesn't make them different from their competitors. It doesn't make sure that their users and their needs can actually be fulfilled on the platform. So on one hand, they want the flexibility, but on the other hand, they also want to have the low cost, immediate access, and all the benefits that SaaS have. So for us, the challenge has been, how can we find and build a system in such a way that we can deploy fast? I'm not talking hours, I'm talking minutes here. How we can deploy flexible, different extensions, modules, etc. How we can make sure that we then have enough flexibility to fulfill the use cases, and down the line can blindly update our platforms, preferably Friday afternoon, without having all the headache of, oh, we customize it in such a way that we actually cannot do automated deployments. And that is hard, but we are really good at that, also through errors and failing here and there sometimes, or going too custom and breaking the automated update paths, or not having the automated testing right. But now we're at a place where we can create deployments on our architecture, where we can, in a user interface as a sales team, switch extensions on and off based on the client's need, give demos in hours, because this is the new reality. I'm a client in the morning, I'm browsing through the websites, I like this company, I want a demo in the afternoon and to buy tomorrow and launch it the next day. This is instant, right? And we come from a world where it takes months to do a project. And now we're in a world where it needs to be instant. So we can do that, and at the same time, still add extensions, change extensions, integrate with their specific needs without breaking the update path. And I think that's quite unique. And I think that's also why we're being so successful. And it's almost a new way beyond the traditional one size must fit all SaaS that we know. And yeah, I think that's why we're interesting and have very, very happy clients, because we can actually listen to them and talk with them and build something that they love.
Great. I like that you actually hit all of the points that I had thought you would hit about being able to update, being able to customize each installation with a certain number of extensions. Do you have like upsell levels? Like, do you activate certain modules for your customers if they go to higher tiers?
Yeah, we're still working. So we have what we call extensions, and that you can look at it on our website. Some of them are Drupal modules as well, but some of them are more like suites. So we have a e-learning suite that comes with courses, with quizzing, and then you can get a badge or a certification. So that's a whole suite that you can enable on top of the basic platform, and that's great for upselling. And I have to say that we've been also looking at this model, and we're still going through how the model works. But what we need to understand also in the Drupal community is that we need to build sustainable open source projects. And that is always something that I've seen in the past, whether that has been the predecessor, Drupal Commons, if there's not a stable stream of income, if your margins aren't good, if you cannot get an investment, and you're down to just a few developers that need to do lots of bug fixing and maintenance, your project's not going to be sustainable, and it's going to die out because your developers leave. And we've seen this so much, and it's such a shame of all the effort and love and passion that went into this project because we couldn't build them sustainable. So our focus is really on how can we build sustainable open source projects that are giving back to the community, that are as open as possible. Everything we do is run on the same open course, the same open source core, the distro. And how can we build a model around that where we can actually maintain a healthy situation, attract good investors, hire great developers, and build a good product in the end. And I think we're like finding that model. And we'd just like to work also with the community, how we can build it better. And for example, now we're at the moment where we can actually start paying the Drupal community back. So Sasha, who's been working on the gym admin theme, had a campaign to raise some income every month so he can work in his nights and weekends on creating this great admin theme. We're now sponsoring his project. So I think it's not just good for us, it's also good for the community where we can spend more time, whether that's the group module or other things or on core. So yeah, I do think that we have to make some steps in the community by building financial sound business models that we can then use to invest back into the community and more into open source.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like, there's not too much to say about that additionally to what you said, but I think that's in general with the open source community. Also looking outside of Drupal, it's becoming more of like this, like what GitHub recently did with GitHub sponsors. Like there's traction on how these things are going, like getting more financial stability for open source projects. And I think that's also indeed what the Taco said, like the key to having sustainable projects. And I'm glad we're now at a position where we can also give back financially to Drupal.
Cool. Yeah, so a lot of people do Drupal distributions. The classic case for a Drupal distribution is I'm an agency, and I build websites for customers, and I start to factor out the common tasks of building a site for a customer into a Drupal distribution that I keep internally. Or maybe I open source it and put it out there, but it's basically a collection of all my best practices, the stuff that I would have to repeat every time and I don't want to. So I put it all in there. Maybe it's my theme with some preferences. Maybe it's a couple modules that I always know that I need. Maybe it's a custom module that my team maintains. In any way, it's like a great starting point for the type of project that I'm going to do. So one question is, does that sound familiar? Is that how Open Social got started? Did Gold Gorilla have that type of Drupal distribution that you were maintaining internally that then grew into Open Social?
No, not really. Although we used to do this for all like client projects, we did also have like our own internal distribution indeed, just like you described. But we really started Open Social from scratch. Like this is going to be a distribution, and we're going to put this out there to let us also have like their open source community.
Okay. You're familiar with the type of distribution that I'm talking about, though, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Like
What's the difference?
Lightning, I think.
Yeah. What's the difference between a distribution that's meant to be a great starting point for a development project that accelerates my agency business or my site building business versus a SaaS product where the customer gets a login credential to the website the moment they sign up?
I think it's like almost the 80-20 rule. You would get the 20% of your product and then have to do 80% yourself. I think with Open Social, you get 80% of what you need, and you only need to do the 20% yourself. So out of the box, it's just a super stable framework. We use pretty much for our own internal social intranet, use the distribution. I mean, it has events and groups and the stream and progressive web app in core. So it's out of the box, just a usable product that you then can fine tune to your specific needs. But it's very rich out of the box, and we keep on. We just released 9.0. There's now invites to events and invites to groups and more engagement triggers. So it's just super rich out of the box, and I think it's more comparable to the commerce distribution, which is also a great example and has even a lot more installations than Open Social. And it's just like a very rich experience out of the box. The issue is that we are agencies as in the Drupal community. So the clients, they come to us with very specific demands, we've all seen their big RFPs and then in our mindset, we're like, we need to do exactly that 100% of the features and the use case, etc. And that is when you're doing projects, you're taking big project risks, there's overrun on hours, you never have time to build things well. The client's expectations are through the roof because they look at Facebook and at WhatsApp and like, I want my tool to work just as great. And then these projects are getting harder and harder to do. While we look at what the client really needs and not so much how we do that specifically, but okay, these are the use cases that they need over and over and over again. Let's focus on building that really well, build engagement in the community, and then after launch, maybe do a phase 2 with these detailed things, etc. But in general, we don't. If you do 80% of the community right, the need for the 20% where all your hours and complexity is going in is often not needed anymore. So I think, our goal was never to build just a small framework. We are very critical what we add to the distribution because we know that it shouldn't be too big. So, only if a feature is being used by 90% in our mind of the use cases, then we will add it to core. Otherwise, we'll add it as a module or just add it to a repository. So we are very good gatekeepers of what makes it to core, but it's just a really good product out of the box.
So how much Drupal site building experience do I need as a customer if I sign up for Open Social?
Oh, tough question. I would say not that much. That's always my hope that you don't need any experience at all for using Open Social. I think that's also what we'll be using some of the funds we raised for, to really enhance that experience for site managers and content managers to use Open Social out of the box without having to read a manual. I think if you have to read a manual, then something is going wrong with your product. That's something that we will definitely expand on as well. But at this point, I would say that you don't need that much experience. Well, we have some really nice features out of the box that are pretty user friendly, but we definitely have some areas we need to improve on as well. That will definitely be adding to the core product, and we'll be giving back to the community as well.
Okay, and maybe you could describe to me the difference between I have a Drupal distribution that's a great product. Okay, maybe I've got a Drupal distribution that is a restaurant website toolkit right from installation. It's got great themes. It's got stock photos of food that I can just replace those images. It's got a menu module, so I can update my menu a week in advance, and it'll just like publish the right menu at the right time. It's got a order taking functionality, whatever a restaurant website needs these days, right? Good on mobile. So what's the difference between me having this perfect distribution, ready to go, SaaS product, all the code, and actually being in business as SaaS? What are the other parts?
So what we needed to learn is that you can have a great product and spend a lot of time on tech, but if people don't find you, if your competitors doing their marketing better and their sales better, then you don't get any clients. And if you don't get any clients, you don't get money, you cannot invest. So doing marketing and sales right in a SaaS manner is something that we had to learn over the years as well. And that is completely different than doing marketing and sales as an agency. Because as an agency, you're like, we can do everything, just come with your problems. We're going to say we're going to do it, and it's going to look great. You trust us, give us your money, and we're going to build it. But if you're selling a product, then people are going to come to you and say like, okay, show me your product, and I'll judge you straight away on the spot about your work that you've already done. So it's a much different way of selling. And also we were lucky because we had a Drupal shop, but that was also doing marketing, and we had a lot of SaaS clients that we did the marketing for. So we're really good in marketing, especially in organic marketing. So organic search campaigns around that. And I think 60% of our traffic currently is organic traffic, and most of our leads are inbound leads. And that means people go to the website, we making a great website, making sure people can plan demos, then having actually the people that are setting up the demos. We build individual demos for each client with their own branding and their specific needs, which is, by the way, also super important to have your product ready to deploy and scale fast. Because if you're going to do multiple demos a day, you don't have time to ask to set up this custom installation. You need to have your sales team set up the demo straight away, configure it for the client, which takes 30 minutes or so, and then do a great demo for the client and be ready to almost immediately launch the platform. So the whole stream of going through your marketing, how do you do your sales, how do you do your education, how do you get the commit from the client of starting the project, then the onboarding and growing the client is super important. And we use a methodology called winningbydesign.com, which is specifically focused on SaaS B2B, that has a lot of books and resources that will teach you how you should do your marketing, how you should do your sales processes, how you should your sales doesn't stop when the client says, yes, we're going to do this project with you, but then your relationship is just starting. So onboarding, upselling, creating this recurring revenue over multiple years, that's super important. And that's something that we, as a Drupal shops, don't do well because we don't have that sales experience. And I think these resources, if you want to do B2B SaaS, winningbydesign.com, there's others, are really helpful to understand these new processes to set up.
So if I understand it correctly, or unless I misunderstood the entire thing, then your customers don't actually have direct access to the code base, right? They don't go and change the actual code themselves, correctly?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you must get requests for special features. I think anyone who has ever worked on a SaaS product, then that balance of what to then implement or what to put in the product and not is always tricky. So do you have options where you can accommodate like requirements if they're super important to the customer or brings value to them? Or
yeah, I think this is maybe the biggest challenge we have as a team, as a product. To what extent are you customizing your product to the customer's need? We made mistakes there in the past, where we went too far, and now we have sites where it's just hard to maintain. Thinking about this beforehand, like what do you keep in the product, what do you customize, and to what extent, that is absolutely necessary. That's really, really important. But customers want their own custom thing as well. So what do you do? So we're now at a point, I think, where we can adapt our core product, our extensions, to meet customers' needs by just adjusting like configuration, making it a bit more flexible. I think that's one of the things that are really that would really helps to give the customer some flexibility in the tools that we already have to match their use case. But on top of that, we can also go and build a custom integration. But still, you need to think about like what's your maintenance burden and how can you automate this deployment. So we now have a system where we can and it's really tightly integrated with Platform.sh, and we're automating and working on that infrastructure more and more in the coming months, where we can add custom modules to a client project without, well, putting too much load on our maintenance team. So yeah, I think it's always a really big challenge. To what extent do you do these customizations? And you need to talk also with the client, like what Taco said before. Like you have like this 80-20 rule. Like you get 80% out of the box, maybe even more for most of our customers. But this last 20 or 10%, can you convince the client to just go ahead and go use the 80% and see where we get off? Because if you launch a site, like your priorities change a lot, right? You get users, you get whole different questions. So maybe these things that the custom, you can move to like a phase 2 or even later.
That makes sense.
Usually we do that for the enterprise project. So you can do it, but your recurring revenue needs to be, resulting
absolutely.
for the risk, etc. But just having the way of what Bram says to add custom modules to our completely automated architecture is something that is quite brilliant, and the way forward, because that is just what clients needs. And if you are competing and you both buy the same system that can only do the same thing, you cannot compete on innovations or on your outreach to your volunteers. So these organizations are full of creativities and ideas, and yeah, we need to find a way to accommodate them.
Yeah, but it's probably better to have more ideas than you need than the other way around. But yeah, I get it. It can be hard to manage. So I also of course want to ask you, so how has working with us, with Platform.sh, how has that contributed to getting where you are, reaching your goals? You mentioned that it helps that you can automate upgrade procedures, etc.
Yeah, so let me first talk a little bit about the technical side. Maybe Taco can talk a little bit more about like the sales side, maybe, or getting like that part. From the start, when we built Open Social, we wanted to make this a SaaS business. So we used to be an agency, so we really moved to a product organization, and I think we've been talking to Platform.sh before then. I think Taco, yeah, Robert already for a long time, so maybe that's how the connection also started. But yeah, we started with Platform.sh, where we would have our basic SaaS version and integrating that as Robert actually described before, that with a click of a button you can fill in your credit card details and get your Open Social instance up and running. So we've been, well, that's 3 years ago maybe, and we've been expanding on that ever since. And as I said, like we're expanding that even more in the coming months, integrating that and automating our infrastructure really together with the Platform.sh team. I think we've seen from what I understood, like a month or 2 ago, we're actually using the API from Platform.sh the most, or we're one of the heavy consumers of the API. And I've seen that working with you guys, we've seen like a lot of innovation happening, and I've also seen it happening fairly quickly. Like I'm always surprised to see what kind of new solutions you're coming up with that and updates to your to for example the command line interface. Like these things are really helping us speeding up our innovation as well. Like, hey, can at some point, like, can we change our routes, adding extra I don't know, like services that we can use. Obviously we use Solar, Redis, but we've also been looking at deploying, for example, now with our decoupled project ReasonML to PlatformSh. Things that, like, I don't know really a different SaaS provider or PaaS provider that can do this, and you've been really helpful in getting our technology scalable and being able for us to automate this. And so far, I think we've done it. We've had a very successful partnership, and I really hope that that we can continue using your innovation capability and having that help our innovation ability as well.
Yeah, what is super important for us from a sales perspective is that we can deploy multi-cloud, single tenant, and on different geographical locations. And having a platform that depends on this personal experience, having clients in Australia, that would never work with a platform hosted on AWS anywhere other than Australia. So being able to say, sure, we can host in the US or in Europe. We can actually also deploy not on AWS in Ireland, but on the Google Cloud in Germany. That is like so important for us as sales. Saying single tenant helps as well because of all the GDPR guidelines, and it just gives a lot of trust to the clients, knowing that it's not a shared database, etc. So, and then in scaling, we can. Our communities grow sometimes. So sometimes companies come with us with a small project that becomes huge, and we can just scale the platform along without any hassle. And that is just very. I don't know a lot of companies that can actually do that. We have even our automated deployment process where you can select where do you want to host. Well, you don't see that often where you have a SaaS product where you can say, I want to host here from Australia to Europe to the US. And that's a big benefit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these regions that you were talking about, Taco, I think like having the ability, for example, also to host in Germany was one of the I think the key contributors to getting like projects as well. Like having like a GDPR compliant region where we can store and keep the data in Germany. I think that also won us projects. So it's been really important to have that.
Have you had to use the scalability features for individual sites very often? Do you have open social installations that suddenly have to scale up quickly?
Yeah. So we've had these projects, hives maybe even. Yeah, I don't want. I'm not sure if I want to talk about that project anymore. But no, but we've had this project where we unexpectedly got a lot of visitors, and open social is indeed a project where we have very user personalized content and
so
experience.
CDN doesn't really help you very much, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, like we have to rely on a lot of caching, obviously, but we have to do it for a user basis, and we've had a lot of talks with your engineers as well. Like, hey, how can we scale and cache our experience per user? And what we've been using also recently is really like optimizing our anonymous traffic, for example, like really use like this reverse proxy that PlatformSh provides, optimizing PHP usage, all of these things we've been looking at with very detailed eye, and getting a way to scale that. Not just by upgrading like a package or upgrading to more memory, but also really optimizing like how can we use open social with limited resources, maybe even for a large site, and having that automatically update or upgrade.
How open are you to customers who want to self-host or have really specific hosting requirements that would exclude Platform.sh. Do you work with that customer? Is that what you call an enterprise customer?
Yeah, by definition, that's in our enterprise package because we know it's more work doing on-premise hosting. So we do it. We do a couple of projects that are high security. For example, we work with the CTBTO organization, which is a spin-off from the United Nations that is in charge of building a testing network globally to discover nuclear bomb testing. And that means if South Korea or North Korea tests a nuclear bomb, they will find out and discover this, and this will be then discussed in the UN Security Council, etc. So you can understand that their networks are highly secure, and we don't have access to their internal systems, and we just hand the code over and updates over to them, and they self-deploy. We do know that we prefer hosting ourselves because we then know that the platform runs smoothly. And we did have some platforms that had performance issues, and it's obviously then finger pointing where the issues are, and especially if you don't have any access to the production environment, it's very hard then to understand where the issue is from. So yeah, we have some projects, but they're not too much, and I think it helped having GDPR legislation in Europe, because at least it was a clear what is and isn't allowed by European law. But we still see, for example, companies in Switzerland that prefer hosting in Switzerland, especially if it's public or non-profit, which is a big part of our market.
So you would like us to have a Swiss region?
I already asked
Yes.
that last week, I think. So that I think that would definitely help and be interesting. We were looking now into the German option. There seems to be a way around, and then we're talking to some very large German projects for German government that are also quite secure, and that means hosting on premise. But in general, we only do it very if it's a really cool project that will on some way benefit open social or somehow. So we do it limited. And again, GDPR has helped a lot in that it's just a more level playing field, and people know that if it's GDPR approved, it doesn't matter if it's hosted in Ireland or France or whatever, should all be under the same law.
Yeah, and hosting on in the user hosting environment, it's always hard to automate this as well, right? Because now we can set up open social instance in minutes, as Taco said on Platform.sh. But writing or adapting our automation software to match a hosting environment by a customer, it's way too much work for the MRR, the recurring revenue that you get. So yeah, that is definitely something that we think about as well. How much maintenance burden are we getting on ourselves as well? Tough choices sometimes.
So I want to step back a bit and focus a little bit more on Drupal distributions in general and their business potential. So anybody who has known me for 10 years or more knows that there was a time when I was going from conference to conference, just absolutely railing on the idea that build distributions, sell distributions, make your business on products, not services. And very few people have actually done that. You're one of the only examples in the Drupal world where you've successfully built a product on Drupal, a SaaS product especially. It's a really great achievement. I'm proud of you guys. What do you think there's missed potential there? Do you think that you're the smart kids and everybody else should be following your lead? And what would you say to them?
Well, I think that we're also still learning and discovering how to do it, and this has also been a journey. And what I think is that it helped that we've seen projects not succeeding. And again, what I said before, I think it's such a waste of talent and creativity that went into distributions that are now still like on Drupal 7 and have never been migrated to Drupal 8. And it takes a lot of money to do that. So what I think that's because Drupal is a very technical community, that the business side and the marketing and the sales side has been sometimes overlooked, or we didn't have the best mentors there. And I think because I have an industrial engineering background, so I'm not a developer, and my co-founder was also not a developer. So the business side and understanding scaling and margins and those kind of things are super important. And by looking at also Acquia and other companies that are understanding the scaling and seeing how they're raising money and how they're attracting the best talent from the community, yeah, I think those are examples of doing that. And American companies, especially from us in Europe, we have a different mentality to sales, and sometimes it can be a bit much. But yeah, they are doing a lot of sales. If you look at Acquia, how much percentage of their staff is sales, then you start thinking, okay, my team of 20, how much salespeople should I have? Not one.
25.
I should have like exactly. And that's true, because the opportunities are huge, the markets are huge, but you need to get there. You need to find your customer, and you need to get everything right: the tech, the look and feel, the processes, company culture. So it's hard work, and I think it helped that we have an industrial engineering background and not per se just developers, and that we have a quite diverse team. I mean, yeah, we have people that are looking at the product, the look and feel. We have technical people, we have great marketing and salespeople. So I think approaching it with a diverse team and really reading into this, I'm going to say it again, like winning by design, those kind of methodologies are key to success, and how to do your marketing in a scalable way, how to work with videos to convince clients to do outreaches. And the market is there, the talent is in the Drupal community, and there's great distributions that have been doing, like even Roomify, things like that are great for a niche market. But in order to get the investments, you need to show the sales results, going to the market. And I hope we're just a good example. That's why we're trying to sell or share as much of our experience as possible. Also on fundraising, I want to be very open about that, how to do it, how not to do it. I think we are much, we know a lot more now than when we started that. I wish I had known a lot of that. So yeah, how to raise money for this and where to invest it in is crucial. I hope we can see more. I think Dries is also a big fan of this. The technology is there. Like you don't need to have a complete team doing the hardware, because you can work with PlatformSh. There's all this great sales and marketing tools out there. And you need to be very stubborn. Like, yeah, that's going to be, it's going to be a rocky road. So you need to be stubborn and stick to your plan.
I like that. Stubborn is good. So, so if there are others watching this who are just starting out building their SaaS product or starting their entrepreneurial journey, what would be your advice to them if you were starting over?
Well, but maybe we can split that indeed. Like maybe we're tech and sales part. From a technical part, like what I said, like make your product flexible in itself, not just customize it to each customer wish. I think that's one of the things that we really learned. Like, hey, to what extent do you customize? Because that's been, I think, one of the biggest mistakes we made in the past. Which you should try to prevent yourself. And next to that, it really use and communicate with the Drupal community. We've been using the group module, for example. We've been talking with Christian, the maintainer of the group module, for I think maybe even years now. We've been talking with a lot of other module maintainers, like getting like experience from the community. Don't just try to do it all yourself, definitely don't do that, because there's so much talent, as what Taco said, in the community, that bring each other, like helping each other in that part is also very important. And it's also just about like experimenting with tech, like, hey, what works for you, what doesn't work, what do clients want, and getting rid of stuff as well. Just know when you need to like get rid of features or refactor it, or I don't know, like throw away things. Like, it's sometimes really easy to keep old stuff that maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe 5 or 50 communities use, but you need to make tough decisions there.
I heard the Dalai Lama give a tech talk once, and he said features are a form of suffering.
That's good for a t-shirt. But it's true, and it's not a job just of tech, it's also sales, because we're used to saying, sure, everything is possible, especially doing project. We're selling hours, right? So you want this crazy feature, fine, we'll sell you that for a gazillion hours, and it was a great job because we wrote 1,000 hours for the project. But you need to completely do that mental switch around and think, okay, what is my product doing? Which market am I taking? How can I get the right clients? And how can I qualify my clients? And that's something that we had to learn. We were very opportunistic and say every client would, yes, we're going to do it. And now we're much more careful, saying we're actually going to qualify our clients, see which is a good match for us and which are not a good match for us. And in the end, that leads to you can spend more time with the clients that you think are a better match, and you don't have to spend the time on projects that might not, or if they would happen, would take you not into the direction that you want with your product. So I would, really look into your use cases and make them really good for a great market, and be careful indeed with moving away from that path. And that's a big change, and for us as well, it took years also to change the whole company DNA almost, to say no and ask, why do we need this feature? Like, do we really need this feature? And then ask it 5 more times, and the sales say no sometimes. And that's a hard lesson to learn. But in the end, if you can get the right clients that use the features of the product that are giving them the most value, your sales will come easier, your margins will be better, your clients will be happier, and then you can start scaling and growing your business as we're doing now.
Awesome. Well, I have one more question, but before I ask that final question, I want to remind everybody who's watching that we do this type of presentation broadcast every week, always on Friday. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and you'll get a notification when we do new content. We always have new exciting guests, new topics all about the internet, web hosting, web applications. And yeah, thank you to Taco and Bram. But here's the final question.
Uh-oh.
When's the Drupal 9 version going to be available?
I kind of expected that. I kind of expected that question indeed. No, we're working on identifying not only the gap in open social, because that's not really a big problem with distribution itself. Like your custom code or your distribution code, you can quite easily get that compatible with Drupal 9. So we're working on that actually now. Our challenge is also in getting like the modules we use from the community to Drupal 9 compatibility. Because as we're using and including them in our distribution, we also need to make sure that these are compatible with Drupal 9. So I think that the community so far, with also the automation software to get like this Drupal 9 compatibility automatically fixed, I think that's been like a game changer. Maybe it was really, really cool to see that see those tickets in the queues for some of the modules we also use. But we'll need to. We're investing time in that, and we're using some of the funds from the investment to get that going, and help the modules we're using also to get to Drupal 9, and hopefully within a couple of months or maybe sooner even, we'll also be we'll also have our Drupal 9 compatibility reached.
Fantastic. Well, we're at the top of the hour. It was a great conversation with both of you, and thank you also, Tina, for joining me today. That's it for this week. See you next week on Deploy Friday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye all.